Issues and Tissue, a contemporary magazine program that engages and discusses issues of development within and outside the state. The program brings to the fore ranging topics like education, politics, agriculture, just name it, while we examine the nitty-gritty of the issue in focus. Join me, BC Akpaida, every Wednesday on African Independent Television, AIT, for an exciting time. Issues and Tissue. If we can think it, we can discuss it.
Alright, thank you for tuning in to another exciting edition of the program Issues and Tissue. My name is Nosarime Uso. Here I have with me in the studio today Honorable Osemwegie, who is former Commissioner for Arts, Culture and Tourism in Edo State, and we'll be joining him for the conversation shortly after this break.
Issues and Tissue. If we can think it, we can discuss it.
All right, thank you for joining us today, Honorable Osemwegie. Now, you are at the forefront of, advocating or fighting for the return of Benin artifacts from some of these foreign countries. Now, how far have you gone in this your quest?
Oh, I was.
Okay.
At the forefront as Commissioner for Culture in their official capacity at that time. Under the first administration of His Excellency Governor Godwin Inaweresa Obaseki. And I'm glad that we're getting positive results on that now. You can see the last few weeks they'll be returning those artifacts back to the Benin Kingdom and to the Palace of His Royal Majesty Monobanedo Ukuapolopolo, and everything has been in news. So those were the fights and that we advocating for at that time, and even until December 2nd. 2019 in Amsterdam when I was arrested. I was actually on the official trip to Berlin, to have a meeting with the Nigerian ambassador to Germany, with other delegates that were with me on that day when I was arrested. Okay, now we'll get back to talk about that arrest. Now, you said you were at the forefront. Is it that you have stopped advocating for the return of these artifacts, or you do it on the personal level now? No. I was in the capacity of the Commissioner for Art, Culture, Tourism and Diaspora Affairs at that time.
Okay.
And the committees that was set up by the governor, visiting diaspora, having series of meetings with the foreigners, the countries that were having a discussion there, like the British Museum in London, then the few individuals in Europe, Amsterdam and other places, Germany, that were ready to return those artifacts at that time. Okay.
Now, there's been an issue. I think it's been resolved, but somehow it's still there. The issue of where should the artifacts be kept when they are eventually returned, and the state government wants to build a museum to house the artifacts, while the palace wants the artifacts to be returned to its original place, which they say is the palace. So what is your take on that?
No, I don't think there's an issue, because I've been asked this question several times. There were collaboration between the palace and the state government. Okay. There was a tripart collaboration, the federal government, the state government and the palace. And even as a commissioner then, that was my agreement, that was what was agreed, and that was what was on record. So there was planned to build the museum in Benin, bring those artifacts where those artifacts will be kept in Benin and all that. So whatever transpired after then is not to my knowledge, and I can't really speak into that, because whatever developed then, people that's interest and all that before the artifacts that are being brought back now is not to my knowledge, and I cannot really talk into that.
Okay, all right. Now let's leave that for now and go back to the issue of you being arrested in Italy, 2019. What happened?
Oh, okay. Like you said, I was on my trip, on an official trip to Berlin on the 2nd of December 2019, and we used KLM, travel through Amsterdam, and tried to connect my flight from Amsterdam to Berlin, but unfortunately my passport flagged up, and I contacted the policeman. I asked him what was going on, only for them to tell me that I was wanted in Italy by a European arrest warrant. We were shocked. I was surprised because as far as I'm concerned, I've never committed any crime that warrants me to be being sought for. And I've been traveling for the past 25 years. Most time I use KLM. I'm a frequent flyer of KLM. And I just came back from, after the NAFest, we went to China, for arts festival in China. And I came back, I was surprised that my passport flagged up. So I contacted the Nigerian ambassador that invited me and told him what was happening. He now contacted his colleague, Osemwegie, the Nigerian ambassador to Holland at that time. And they gave me a lawyer, they visited me. We had tried to fight the extradition because we still didn't know what was going on. They just issued a warrant and said I was wanted in Italy. Okay. So we looked at all that, tried to fight the extradition in Amsterdam, but it never worked. Because I didn't get the cooperation of the Foreign Affairs Minister at all, because there was a letter that he was supposed to have signed and sent to us. That didn't come. So the extradition failed, and I was transferred. We're now extradited to Italy on the 21st of February 2020, because the Holland said the European arrest warrant is in Italy, so the case is not in Amsterdam or Holland, so there's no way they can let me go. But if we had fought the extradition and succeeded, or if we had gotten that letter from the Foreign Affairs Ministry to say that I'm a senior government official, I'm sure they would have considered all those things, but that never came. So we went to Italy, appeared in court on the 9th of March 2020, the Freedom Court. And my lawyers challenged the arrest procedure because as a British citizen I was supposed to have been invited if there was any case against me, one. And secondly, throughout my detention from the 2nd of December till that March, there was no translated papers in English that I understand. And that is a violation of the arrest procedure according to their law and justice over there. So we challenged that, and the court said yes, that was right, that I should be released immediately. While they were issuing me a release paper, the prosecutor was issuing another arrest warrant, to keep me maximum security in prison. Wow. So we did that. We were all surprised. Then again, they now fixed the trial for the hearing. Between that time and July, my lawyers contacted the governor and asked him that if it's possible to get a place in Italy, that they will be probably able to get me house arrest rather than being in prison. The governor wrote a letter to the Minister of Foreign Affairs asking for a space in the embassy in Rome, or alternatively let him get an apartment, which he was ready to personally fund. I have the letter. But no support. I didn't get any support. That never happened. So on
sorry, before you go too far, you didn't get any support from where now?
I didn't get support from the federal government. Okay. As a senior government official, I think it was the responsibility of the embassy, and especially the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to support me, first as a Nigerian, then secondly a senior government official arrested in diaspora. It's your responsibility, the embassy of the Foreign Affairs Minister and the embassy, to be in the forefront of the legal proceeding. It's very important, because if anybody is arrested abroad, the embassy's responsibility, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, should come forward to make sure whether the person commit the crime or not, to make sure that person gets proper legal representative, to make sure that person gets a health and welfare is well taken care of. Not just abandoning that person because you think or assume that he commits a crime. And even if he commits a crime, the person must get a proper legal representative. That is the responsibility of the embassy vis-a-vis the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Okay, now what about the state government? Did you get any support from the state government? Because according to the report then, you were on a trip with the governor.
Those were rumors, those were lies. I was not on the trip with the governor, and it doesn't have anything to do with the governor. And I cannot fault the governor, Obaseki. He supported me. It cost me £56,000 to pay lawyers, and the governor gave me huge amount of support financially on that. The governor did not replace me because he believed in my innocence, and he thought I was going to come back immediately because he believed I didn't commit any crime. And that is why it took time that the governor did not replace me in the office. Again, the governor was very concerned, making all the contacted the Foreign Affairs Minister by phone and by letter severally. The governor went to see my father 3 times in the house. The governor was in constant touch with my lawyers and my wife, telling them and giving them the assurance that everything is okay. And when they requested for house arrest, the governor personally offered to pay. So you cannot fault the governor, but these are things that the governor did. And it's an international matter. The governor cannot come there without passing through the proper procedure, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Do you understand? So I cannot fault the governor at all. And in fact, in this, I'm very grateful for all the support that the governor gave. He showed leadership. He did not abandon me, and he supported me throughout. Even with all the scandal about the $2 million and money laundering that they were trying to rubbish his name with, he still didn't mind. He still kept his word, still kept that leadership, he still kept the support till the last minute. That's leadership. So that's very appreciative of His Excellency. Do you understand? So, but this is a foreign issue where the Foreign Affairs Ministry is supposed to be involved. That is how it's supposed to be. Again, like I said, first of all, I'm a Nigerian. Secondly, I'm a senior government official. If that could happen to me and I'm abandoned, what is the fate of the ordinary Nigerians that is languishing in prison for over 4 or 5 years over there? We have over 500 Nigerians. And again, I'm a dual citizenship. I have a British passport. My wife contacted the MP, our local MP in London, and in 3 days' time, the British ambassador to Italy visited me in prison 3 times. He came there and visited me and listened to my case, and he followed up to the last bit of it all. When the trial started, he wrote a letter that my lawyer read and submitted as an evidence for my case, that yes, they cannot interfere in the judicial process of a country because of sovereignty. However, they are interested in the outcome of this case. And again, he attached a copy from the Metropolitan Police in the United Kingdom, stating that I do not have any criminal record of my living in London for 24 years. That was attached. That is the support that you can get from the embassy. They were writing me every month, checking about my welfare and my health, and writing to the lawyers in case of any complaint. That was the support from the embassy. That is the support of the Foreign Affairs Ministry from the UK. Why can't we, as Nigerians, do the same thing? It's not only when the president is traveling abroad we run around and follow him and put red carpet and do all those sort of things. There are other things that happen to Nigerians. You can see what's happening to Nigerians all over the world. And one thing is, once we are arrested, we jump into conclusion to say that these people are criminals. They are the ones spoiling our names. But that is not the case. And like I said, even though they commit that crime, they should first of all get the support of the embassy or the Foreign Affairs Ministry in legal representation. That is the responsibility of the embassy all over the world.
Okay. Now, what were the charges? You were arrested and you were taken for trial. What were the charges?
The charges was that he said I was the head of the mafia, Nigerian mafia organization, as the kingpin, according to him. Do you understand? And when they transferred me from Rome to Italy, to Torino, I now found out there were Nigerians that have been there for the past 4 years. From 2016 that I've been arrested in that same prison. That's when it became clear to me what I was facing, because I didn't still understand this first 6 months. I didn't still understand what was going on. You just call me a mafia. You're not bringing the crime I committed. You're not telling me what I did. You're not bringing any evidence or anything. Whether I committed, I killed somebody or I did anything, you didn't bring it to me. I've never lived in Italy. I've visited Italy only 4 times. So there's no way you would tell me that I committed a crime in the past that was not shown. Do you understand? So when I now looked at the case and I found out that he said I attended a meeting in 2013 with some Nigerians, and he just concluded that they were Nigerian mafia organization, and he used Article 416B, which is the highest Italian mafia criminal code, to arrest us. And once you do that, that is it has a lot of fundamental human rights abuses. So with that, you can't get bail. You can't get there's a lot of fundamental human rights abuses with that article. And that is what the man has been doing for the past 5 years. So we went into the case, looked at the case file, a case file that was 1,600 and something pages. It was on the telephone interception of those boys. There was no communication between myself and any of them. And if you look at the characteristics of Article 416B, it says that the importation and exportation of firearms, guns, importation and exportation of drugs, importation and exportation, not local, Then prostitution, human trafficking, kidnapping, extortion, killings. Those are the characteristics of it. Very huge, very grievous. So before you start using that kind of article to arrest somebody, you must have proof of the crime committed.
Okay, so how were you released eventually?
We went to court, full trial, because in July they asked if we're going to do the short trial or the long trial. And if you do the short trial, they give you 2/3 of the sentences, and the person is convicted.
Okay.
But if you do the long trial, the prosecutor will be compelled to bring the evidence that he has against you. And if the person is convicted, he does the full trial, full time. So most of the Nigerians that we have there does not even have money to defend themselves. He gives them government lawyers. And once they give them government lawyers, they treat the case and they prosecute them and convict them. And the lawyers convince them to do short trial.
So they go
take your sentence and go home. Because they are not paying. That's why I told you that we raised the money to pay my lawyers. And though it was very expensive, but that is why I paid for my freedom today. Even though my enemy would have been languishing in prison for crime I did not commit. So went through full trial, went for the long trial. And July 10th, where you have the pre-trial, I was thinking that by the time we go there, there's no evidence of crime committed. I will be, released. Only for the prosecutor to now tell me that I should do the short trial and he will give me house arrest. I said no. I told the lawyer, if this man have anything against me, either by individually or by association, he won't be asking me to do short trial for a house arrest.
Yeah.
And I said no. He said the long trial will take 4 years. I said I don't care. Even if it's 5 years, as long as I know that I did not commit any crime, no crime was committed individually or by association, let's go for the full trial. So that is what we opt for. And on the 24th of November, last year, we went to court.
Yeah.
After postponement and all that, then we got to court and the judge now asked the prosecutor, where is the evidence that you have against Mr. Osemwegie that you are calling him a mafia kingpin? I was waiting, we were all waiting, only for him to bring out a manual that he called the Green Bible, and that this is the manual that the Nigerian Mafia Association used to commit their crime. I say manual. You're not showing me guns, you're not showing me cocaine, you're not showing me you're not even a complainant to say that this they prostituted him or he or her or whatever. You're bringing a manual? I said, is this a joke? And you've kept me for almost 1 year with the same Italian mafias who, when they arrest them, you see guns, you see drugs, you see a lot of things. You are using the same article to hold me and them. So I just told the judge, I said, this is a joke or what? So, and when we even look at the manual, we now found that the manual was forged. And apparently he has used that same manual that he called Green Bible to jail over 300 Nigerians in prison. Because when you do the interpretation of the manual, there are a lot of criminal things written in that manual. Page 14 of that manual, paragraph 3, it says that we, the criminal organization involved in importation and exportation of firearms, cocaine and all those things, the characteristics of Article 416B. And I told the judge, is there any organization that will write in a manual that they are criminal organization and put the characteristics of Article 416B inside? Then on page 31, 32 and 33 of that same manual, you have the event of a communique event of 2017. And page 51, paragraph 9 of that same book, it says that this book was written in 1978 by a University of Benin students. So again, that was on that point that I cleared up with the judge and said, a book that was written in 1978 and you now have 2017 event inside. So and I told them that justice all over the world is about facts and evidence. And this should not be an exception. A high profile case like this, of a mafia Article 416B, you don't even have any single proof of the crime committed. You are not showing me gun, you are not showing me anything. You are using a manual in this 21st century.
All right, Honorable Osemwegie, thank you so much. We'll continue this conversation. We'll quickly take a short break now, and then we'll be back to continue the conversation.
Issues and tissue. If we can think it, we can discuss it.
Alright, welcome back to the program Issues and Tissue on African Independent Television, AIT. My guest today is Honorable Osemwegie. Now, Honorable, you have been talking about the events that happened in Italy as regards your arrest. Now, since your release, what have you done, to correct these ills being done by the Italy?
Thank you very much again for having me here. Well, first of all, after the whole trial on the 11th of February, it became very clear to me that we have a very corrupt prosecutor who have been manipulating the justice system, Italian justice system, against Nigerians. And I call that modern day slavery, just because the Foreign Affairs Ministry refused to act and do this what they are supposed to do. So they just capitalized on that and decided to be using Nigerians for modern day slavery, packing them and putting them in prison, using collective funds from the European Union that they are fighting mafia. It's wrong. Not that these over 400 Nigerians are all innocent, don't get me wrong. Some of them constitute a lot of nuisance over there. They fight themselves on the street, they sell marijuana, they do credit card, all sorts of things. But my take is that let them be prosecuted for the crime they committed. Do you understand? You cannot arrest a pocket picker and charge him with armed robbery or kidnapping without seeing a gun or anybody that complains that he was kidnapped. So that's wrong. So we've cleared that now, and I'm glad that since I came out, my case now is a reference point for other cases in Italy. And that is why I went very vocal, very loud to the whole world to see what the injustice that was melted down on me over that period of time, and still being melted down on Nigerians over there. But I'm glad that that is yielding results. As of last week, 15 Nigerians were arrested. We were released at the appeal after 2.5 years in prison. They got to the appeal, their lawyers, which I was communicating with, used my case as a case study, and they were released. I'm glad. And again, the new Nigerian ambassador to Italy, Ambassador Umafa Amba, is doing very well, is very proactive, and I want to commend him for what he's doing. As of yesterday, he visited the Torino prison, because the wife of those boys called me to say that the ambassador came, the Nigerian officials came to visit them, and they contacted the lawyers as well to say they want to be part of the trial. The case has been adjourned to January 12th. They're going to apply to the judge so that they can be there, and that will help the case, because if the judge and the prosecutor sees that the Nigerian ambassador and the officials are seated in court, then they will judge the case accordingly, and if those guys did not commit any crime, they are going to release them rather than just leaving them to their fate. Do you understand? So these are a lot of changes during my advocacy, and I've set up the hashtag justice for innocent Nigerian, under Article 416B. If you Google it, you will see it there. And I took my petition straight to the Italian embassy in London, to go and read my petition, and I submitted it, and they've acknowledged it now. The Italian justice system have acknowledged my petition through my lawyers to tell them that they are looking into it. And again, the appeal is coming up, because the prosecutor have decided to appeal, which is the procedure in the Italian justice system there. And after that, it goes to the Supreme Court. But there's nothing they're going to do. It's just following the procedure. And at that time, I will now sue them for damages, and they will pay for all the time that I spend there. Including all those other innocent Nigerians that we are being kept in Italian prison under Article 416B. They say they call them Nigerian mafia. They are cultists. They are this. They are that. I'm not a cultist. I left school 30 years ago. I don't do cultists. I don't know all these boys from Adam. And if anybody commit crime, even though they say they are cultists, let them be charged for the crime they committed. That is my focus. That is my case. Do you understand? So you cannot call, even though they are cultists and whatever those boys are committing, you cannot be arresting people based on association or friendship or brotherhood or membership.
Now, moving forward, after your advocacy, and probably how do you plan to return to politics? I'm a politician. I still play my politics very well, and we'll be working. I move with the governor. We work with the governor to PDP, and we're having a leadership meeting. I'm glad that the PDP the governor is holding strong, and of course with other leaders of the party, whatever the issues right now, I'm sure it will be resolved. So I'm a politician, and still remain, because I represent my people, and we are working on that. All right, and that's the former Commissioner for Arts, Culture and Tourism in Edo State, Honorable Osemwegie, giving us insight about his experience in Italy. and I'm sure you enjoyed the conversation. Of course, we'll try to have him again in the studio where we can discuss extensively on issues of arts and culture in Nigeria and Edo State in particular. Well, our time is fast spent, and that's the much we can take on the program today. Don't forget, next week Wednesday is another time on African Independent Television, AIT. See you then.
Issues and Tissue, a contemporary magazine program that engages and discusses issues of development within and outside the state. The program brings to the fore ranging topics like education, politics, agriculture, just name it, while we examine the nitty-gritty of the issue in focus. Join me, BC Akpaida, every Wednesday on African Independent Television, AIT, for an exciting time. Issues and Tissue. If we can think it, we can discuss it.